Political tensions remain strained between China and its neighbors over the South China Sea. The sea has in recent years become a flashpoint for tensions, as all nations have their own territorial claims. What made it worse was the U.S. involvement in the dispute. Hi, and welcome to our program. This is the South China Sea dispute in a nutshell. While the dispute drew attention in recent years, the problem actually existed for decades. As early as the 1970s, countries began to claim islands and various zones in the South China Sea.
At the moment, not only China, but Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, China Taipei, and Vietnam all have competing claimants. The disputes involve the islands, reefs, banks, and other features of the South China Sea, including the Spratly Islands, Paracel Islands, Scarborough Shoal, and various boundaries in the Gulf of Tonkin. There are further disputes, such as the waters near the Indonesian Natuna Islands, which many do not regard as part of the South China Sea. Claimant states are interested in retaining or acquiring the rights to fishing stocks, the exploration and potential exploitation of crude oil and natural gas in the seabed of various parts of the South China Sea, and the strategic control of important shipping lanes. Maritime security is also an issue, as the ongoing disputes present challenges for shipping.
But what makes this sea so strategic and important, and why can't they all share the water and coexist?
The area is said to be rich in oil and natural gas deposits. However, the estimates are highly varied. The Chinese Ministry of Geological Resources and Mining estimated that the South China Sea may contain 17.7 billion barrels of crude oil, compared to the oil-rich country of Kuwait, which has 13 billion barrels. $5.3 trillion in trade passes through the South China Sea. About 84% of the world's electronics are made in Asia, and analysts estimated that 85% of those goods are made in China. As one analyst notes, all that product flows through the South China Sea.
The claimants are not just claiming islands or zones in the South China Sea, they're building lands on it too.
In 2013, China began island building in the Spratly Islands and the Paracel Islands region. But it wasn't China that began this trade. Island building in the South China Sea primarily started by Vietnam and the Philippines. They've been doing this for decades. While China has come late to the island building game, its efforts have been on an unprecedented scale, as it had from 2014 to 2016 constructed more new island surface than all other nations have constructed throughout history. China also placed military equipment on one of its artificial islands in 2016, which was a new move that no other claimants did before. Beijing has been time and again criticized for its island building activities. Experts believe the reason why Vietnam, in contradistinction to China, has been subject to little international criticism and even support was because of the slower speed of its island building project.
Sounds unfair? Well, the world is not a fair place. In 1974, China got a non-involvement promise from the United States when it was involved in a dispute with Vietnam. But Washington changed its attitude towards the matter during Barack Obama's presidency.
In 2012, a U.S. State Department press statement identified China as an assertive state in the region and communicated the United States' concerns about the developments in the area. Washington also expressed support of congressional approval of the Law of the Sea Convention, which would strengthen U.S. ability to support countries that oppose Chinese claims to certain islands in the area. In 2015, the U.S. destroyer USS Lassen navigated within 12 nautical miles of reclaimed land in the Subi Reef as the first in a series of what the U.S. called freedom of navigation operations. In response, Beijing issued a warning and said it would not allow any country to violate China's territorial waters in the name of quote-unquote freedom of navigation. Two US B-52 strategic bombers also flew near artificial Chinese-built islands in the area of the Spratly Islands and were contacted by Chinese ground controllers but continued their mission undeterred.
Experts believe that the U.S. involvement in the dispute might lead to a conflict. The U.S. claims that its presence in the South China Sea is to support its allies, but the years-long trade war between Washington and Beijing shows that the U.S. has other motives. And that does it for this episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.